Oops, where's my clipboard?
Mm.
What's up, everybody? We are live. So I'll get right to it. As you know, the nonsense in harness racing hurts a lot of good people. So without going into detail, I've got a gentleman here who was caught in one of our many, many webs in harness racing, and he paid a price as well. He's a journalist who mostly, well, he'll correct you on this. I know him through Harnesslink, but actually comes from my same area where I grew up down in the city. And he got caught in the middle of something that I later got caught in. He paid one way, I paid another. Now here we are. So he can tell you all the real story. You'll remember how this all started. I'll let him explain it to you, but you know him. You've probably read his articles before. I got Jason Rogers on the line. Before anything, Jason, let me just read the disclaimer and then we'll get to it. All right, bud?
Okay, all right.
All right. The views and opinions expressed by guests appearing on Equine Advocacy Alliance live streams are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the views, positions, or policies of Equine Advocacy Alliance. We are not responsible for any statements, claims, or opinions made by our guests, which means, Jason, you can say whatever the hell you want. So, what's going on? What do you got?
All right, Mike. First, thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been a while. We had our few times when I wrote that article, and that's water under the bridge. I'm very happy to be back on the program. Just here basically to give an update. It's been almost 2 years since I wrote the articles on the Tioga fire and what happened following it. But let me give a quick little story first on what made me want to come on the show. How I ended up appearing on your show. You had extended an invitation to me a few months ago. I said no. I just didn't want to open old wounds. I didn't want to go there. Like you mentioned, we both paid a zero price back in that time when those articles were written. I know most people who are probably listening to this podcast read those articles, remember those articles, are familiar with those articles. Mm-hmm. But we'll give a little reintroduction for people who are new to the scene. So anyway, you invited me, and I didn't come on, and then you invited me again, and this is why I wanted to come on now. I was at an off-track wagering facility a few months ago, and a guy I don't know walks up to me and says, "I heard you were dead." I said,
I didn't know that part.
I said, what? He said, "Yeah, man, I heard you were dead. I thought you were dead." I said, "Do you know who I am? Are you mistaking me with somebody else?" He said, "No, you're Jason Rogers. And again, I heard you were dead." I said, "Definitely not dead. I'm standing here. Yes, I am Jason Rogers." I introduced, ourselves. His name was Ed. We chatted a little bit. He was betting the harness races. We talked about what was going on that night. I think we were both betting Woodbine. And then he called a couple of his friends over. He said, "Jason Rogers, not dead." And then they said, "Yeah, to him. We heard you were dead." All right. Okay. Well, definitely not dead. And, I don't know how many people thought of the articles since we wrote them or thought something happened to me. It got ugly, but it got nowhere near that ugly.
I would hope not.
As I know. All right. So for the uninitiated, I wrote these articles, Tioga Fire, follow-up articles. What happened with the GoFundMe money? Mm-hmm. It became a he said, she said, okay? I wrote some things. Some people didn't like them. Some people did like them. I had some support. I had some people who were against me. And it got to a level that got out of hand, that should not have gone. It got very personal. So by the third article I wrote, I was just as guilty as other parties. I got personal. I kind of lost my professionalism a little bit. I used my pen to attack personally. Other folks attacked me back. Like I said, it became emotional, and emotions should not have been involved. It should have just stuck to the facts. So again, everybody was hurt. I was hurt. Other folks were hurt. Mike, you got hurt. But time passed on. Time healed. So, but still, I thought about this every single day. This was a big event in my life. I was a writer for Harnesslink. I lost my job at Harnesslink. People posted personal things about me online. I lost clients in my other business. My other business eventually went out of business last July. All right. So my business goes out last July. I can't write harness racing anymore. That community kind of pushed me out.
Mm-hmm.
I lived in Raleigh, North Carolina. Had nothing left in Raleigh. Had no job. Had no business. I decided to move up to New Jersey. I moved up to New Jersey. I was living in my car between exits 11 and 12 on the New Jersey Turnpike on the northbound side. My life had gone to depths that I never imagined. Personal demons, then showed themselves. Drugs, alcohol, showed themselves, and I was like, you know what? I can't live like this anymore. I gotta dig myself out of a hole. Okay, so I go on. I get clean. And I get sober, and I have been clean and sober now a while, and I've been clear-headed. So in my sobriety, then I needed to tie up loose ends. I asked a friend to hook me up with Lee and Kayla Morris, who were the target of my article. And I got personal on them. And I basically, I got on the phone with them. The guy hooked up the phone call. And you know what? And I apologize. I spoke with Kayla. I didn't speak with Lee. I spoke with Kayla, and I apologized for the tone that article was written in. It was hurtful. Like I said, the facts of it became where he said, she said. We both kind of agreed on that. She had her story. I had my story. But a professional article should have never been written in that manner. And that's what I apologized to Kayla for. And we had a lovely conversation. She couldn't have been lovelier. We talked for well over an hour. And we kind of just, we put it behind us. We put it behind us. And it needed to be put behind us because it shouldn't have gotten to the level that it did. The hurt feelings shouldn't have got there. It should have left personal stuff out. I should have just stuck to the facts, and everything would have been fine. But again, emotions got in the way. It was a bad time in my life. Business going under. Had several, demons going on. But as I cleared up my head, I realized my part in that, in that exchange between me and the Morrises. And I'm truly, truly sorry for that. I also want to extend apology to the harness racing community in general. You know what? So the Tioga fire, you had like 30 or 31 horses die. I write my original article on it. It was very well received.
That was great.
And the community was hurting. The community was hurting at the loss of equine life and hurting at the expense that they're humans. They're humans. They're trainers. They're owners. The horses' loved ones paid, having to listen to those horses die in a fire, and people trying to recoup their life financially. The community at the time did not need my article basically having a target on them. Mm-hmm. It was bad timing. It was in poor taste, and I just apologize to the community as a whole. Where we're at today, like I said, now I don't live in my car anymore. I live in Freehold, New Jersey. Two-Bit Freehold Raceway not open anymore. RIP Freehold Raceway. I live pretty much right across the street from it, right next to a cemetery off Route 9. And things come full circle. This is pretty much where I grew up. I grew up in a town called Manalapan, which is next to Freehold, and I could pretty much walk there now. And it's a nice place to recover. And I'm trying to make my life about things positive these days. Tonight I'm going to speak in a detox. People who are fresh off drugs, fresh off alcohol, trying to do good things with my life these days. And and I think I can apply those good things to harness racing. I think I could bring up positives in harness racing. I follow a bunch of people still in racing. You don't talk to them. So I lost touch with a lot of that community. I was up at the Meadowlands. I don't know, 8-9 months, whatever it was, and I saw a guy that I know for 30 years up there, and I walk up. Go ahead.
What happened?
No, you're there.
Yeah. I'm just listening.
Your question.
No. You were rolling. I didn't say anything.
Yeah, I'm rolling.
Keep going.
Anyway, I was at the Meadowlands. I walked up to this guy who I know for over 30 years, and I said hello, and I kind of expected a big hello back, and he was very cold to me, and I realized why. I was kind of on the outs after those articles. So again, I apologize. I just offer my apologies to that whole community for the tone in which that article was written. Like I said, me and Kayla, we had a great conversation. We plan on meeting. And it was just a bad time. Just kind of, when this guy comes up to me and says, "I thought you were dead." I'm like, all right, well, I just want to let anybody know I'm not dead. I'm here in Freehold. I'm not dead.
That's it.
I'll
witness that. It is now 10/16/2025. Wait, what date is this? I don't even know what date it is. I can't read it.
I think it's the 18th.
It's the 18th. Yeah.
18th, something like
you
that.
are in fact alive, unless this is AI. But
yeah, exactly.
You never know.
No AI can reproduce this. No
yeah,
AI
exactly.
This. Definitely not.
But so here's the thing. I'll say it. The only contention I had when I read your article, because I had gotten a call from a gentleman who was losing his mind and making all kinds of accusations against you.
Right.
And I believe that's the same gentleman who called you to put together your latest conference.
Without hearing his name, I don't know, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say yes, it's probably the same gentleman.
Right. Starts with a D, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's he's a friend of mine who I speak to.
Right.
And he was very gracious to set up that.
Well, what I want,
because that was on me. I wanted to come full circle with Kayla, and I kind of wanted to put it behind us. So I requested, and he put it together for me.
Well, what I want you to know is what initiated my contention was mine was simple. I didn't like, there were certain pictures posted and the timing of everything. Same thing, like you said, wrong, maybe an article for later or whatever, but it was too, as a journalist, you have to remain unbiased, where I just go at it with what I'm told, right? You and I are like opposite ends, but it kind of works. You're the positive, you should be the positive guy, and I'm going to be the guy that questions anything that might have some need to be questioned. But when he called me freaking out about what happened, that's when I went, I was like the guard dog. And that's when I posted everything, and then I got hold of you, and everything went off the rails. My biggest thing was, like I said, the pictures, just not cool. That's all it was. But
you know what? And again, looking back at my frame of mind back then, I'm not surprised that I did it. And then again, I realized it was wrong to post pictures of the Morrises with their kids.
That's where
I should have left it to the adults, and I apologize to Kayla for that.
Right.
I was in a frame of mind back then, where I wasn't making any rational decisions, and I shouldn't have been writing an article like that in that frame of mind. And again, I'm so sorry for that. I'm so sorry for that. And I do every little thing I can now to make it right. I talk to Kayla. I help other people who may be in that frame of mind, and they don't make the mistakes that I made. But yeah, you're right. I should have kept it to the adults. Of course, I didn't say anything bad about the kids. What's their bad?
No.
But I did put those pictures up there.
Yeah, but again, I look at it this way now, and that's why everybody just needs to settle down again and talk. And what's done is done. You weren't doing it maliciously. Whatever you were thinking came out at that moment, and you put it in your story, which sometimes, in other circumstances may not have been a problem. It was just, terrible timing, like you said. And everybody was still, I think they just got done doing the memorial maybe up there. There are questions still out there regarding certain things like the accusations, and has nothing to do with you, but the accusations to Mr. Corral and certain issues and how it was handled and insurances and people suing people, that I will save for another live stream. But what I'm trying to say is, what I gather from what you're saying is you want to get back in. You miss it. You love it.
I miss it. I
That's
miss
it.
all you guys out there.
And that's something that people.
We had some great banter on a
Mhm.
lot of my articles.
Yep.
You know, stuff about takeout and certain bets. We had or 12 starters behind the gate.
Mhm.
About racing stuff. We had some great back and forth. It wasn't until it got personal and it got
Mhm.
ugly. And and I'll just speak for myself and my side and what I did. There was no need to get personal like that and get ugly. And I have such remorse for that. And yeah, I was a good reporter. I brought up some good facts, in a lot of my articles. I want to get back in the game. I don't want to give you another example. So I told you I saw a guy I knew for 30 years. He was kind of cold to me.
Mm-hmm.
I had another guy at the Meadowlands at a different time just walked up to me and he said, "You're such a douchebag." I didn't question him. I didn't know if he knew who I was, if he just thought I was a douchebag in general for being there. But
That's
I
right.
imagined he
Could you
knew
be
who
more
I
specific,
was and
please?
was calling me a douchebag. And I don't want that to be. I was at the Meadowlands on another instance, and they were having a food truck rodeo,
Mhm.
and it was this great event. There was great racing that night. It was a Saturday night. Had tons of food trucks, and they had racing fans betting on the races, and they had people who were just food truck fans there to enjoy the food trucks, and maybe, hey, hopefully they'll place a bet. That's what we want.
Right.
We want to bring them into
Get them in
track.
the building.
We want them to make a bet. Next time we want them to bring a friend.
Mhm.
I was just thinking about the good stuff I could do, the good features, the good ideas. The Meadowlands, they have a great TV department. They do a great job, showing all facets. But I just thought about how I could incorporate myself into it. And it's kind of that longing to be back involved with the scene. I was good. I was well received. Until that last article.
Let me ask you this:
Last article shut the door on me.
Have you?
But I definitely miss all you guys and want to get back in.
Let me ask you this: Have you approached Jason Settlemore?
I have not. I have not.
And one other question. But let me ask you.
It's funny because again, another time at the Meadowlands, I seem to go to the Meadowlands a lot.
Well, we all did, because that's where you go.
Mr. Settlemore, Mr. Corral. They were right in front of me on the escalator, and I mean right in front of me.
You should have said hello.
And I thought, should I approach them?
Yeah.
And I didn't. I left them be. They were doing business. It was a Saturday night. They were doing their thing, and I didn't. And I often thought about maybe sending an email, and then I just didn't. I just kind of let it be.
Well,
but when that guy walked up to me and said he thought I was dead, I thought maybe I'd go on your show in case anybody else thought I was dead.
Well, we can definitely pronounce you alive for now. For now. But let me ask you this: I see Harnesslink is up for grabs. Is this true? That
From what I read the same thing you read. That John Curtin was stepping aside,
Mhm.
and that they had a new fella. I believe his name was Marty. Maybe it looks like he's taking the reins.
Okay. And there's still what? That's Harnesslink is based out of Australia. Am I correct? Or was?
As far as I know, Australia, New Zealand,
somewhere down there.
Something down in that part of the world. Yeah.
All right. Well, my point is, I don't like you're here just spilling your guts to get your story out, and I know it's genuine. So, yeah. Does harness racing need more of a positive spin? I can tell you from being the negative guy. Yeah, it does. I'm like the guy I see all the dead bodies. We need you out there, guys like you, and like I like these other younger kids that are doing a really good job, using the technology. But you said it simply like I said it. You got to get people in the building and hope they watch the races and then start betting, because that's where it all comes from. We don't end the welfare. Right.
It all comes from the betting. Harness racing, again, this is just my opinion. It's great that they have casino subsidies now. It's great that the purses are so high due to these casino subsidies. But if something happens like it happened in Florida,
mm-hmm.
where they decouple it, Florida harness racing, which was once the capital, the winter capital of harness racing of the world, was at Pompano Park, and now the place is gone. It's completely gone.
Literally gone.
I would hate harness racing to forget the gambler, because if it ever comes back to where they rely on handle to keep the places open, I don't want to see them go away.
Well,
I've been going to Frio Raceway, which I could walk to right now in 5 minutes. I've been going there since I was a child. I drive by it every day. I go get ice cream at Jersey Freeze. I look over at it and I say, what a shame that it is closed. I think through education, and I'll talk about that in a second, through education, we can get these younger folks through the door. I think, I hear this so many times, Mike. I hear from so many times, the house always wins. These places weren't built on winners. Man, we got to really start from the bottom. We've got to explain to newcomers, to the kids that are sports betting, have seminars. Say, hey, the house wants you to win. We get the house. I'm saying we as the house. The house gets a percentage. That's the takeout. If you bet win, play, show, they're going to take 24% or 17%. I don't have the numbers in front of me. We just want you to bet, and we want you to win, because when you win, you're going to bet again, and again, we just get a percentage. We're not against you. We're not against you, and public handicappers are here to help you. Now, I say education. There are a lot of people doing education out there, and I think it's wonderful. But on some things, I think sometimes they're missing the target. And I'll give you an example. This goes to the thoroughbreds. I was at Monmouth Park for the Haskell earlier this summer. And there were tons of kids there. When I say kids, 21, 22, right, 23.
That can gamble.
Tons of kids. Yeah. And they were wanting to bet, but they were intimidated by going up to the machines, going up to the tellers. I talked to a bunch of them,
right,
and try to explain to them how it works. You're playing against the other gamblers at the track. And again, this was specifically Monmouth. I think they missed a great opportunity where they had thousands of young kids to participate in the 2A seminar of, hey, we're going to bet, we're going to show you the handicap, we're going to explain to you exactly how you get paid, exactly what money comes out and goes to the racetrack, and have a machine, a self-service machine right there. And you help these customers, these new customers, these young customers. You walk them through the process. And when you make it this two-way street, that is what every social media is these days. And you make it live, and you take it, and you take their vouchers and you show them how to do it. I think they would be elated punching their own tickets, knowing how to do it. And then hopefully they pick a winner and they come back on another day.
I'm surprised that the racetracks, there's something I've said, the closest we've gotten to it, like you said, that customer service, one-on-one kind of education, I've seen happen a lot, especially at Tioga Downs, where Corral's got those people floating around.
That's great. I have not been up to Tioga. I would
you got to go there. Tioga.
Let's go back decades. I used to work at the Meadowlands in the 90s, in the early and mid 90s.
What I call the real Meadowlands.
Yeah. The one that was across the way on what's the backstretch now.
Let's not go there. But I call the Meadowlands.
Department. Every Friday night, I did a show. I did an interactive show on the paddock level. And it was engaging fans, and I gave out prizes, and I handicapped, and I gave out horses, and I explained why I like those horses. Now you're talking the days before self-service machines,
right?
I had to explain to the newer customer how to go up to the teller and make a play. It would be so cool to have a show like that now. Advertising, hey, come on out for your first timers. Have a machine next to the host, preferably me. Let's get it out there. The host, preferably me. Get it out there and show them how to walk through a ticket. Every kid, every young person in there would be fascinated with punching their own ticket. That's cool. And the ones who won, they would want to do it again. And the ones who enjoyed it, they would want to bring back a friend. And so when I say education, I don't necessarily think, you educate, people on what trotting hopples are. You know what? Somebody coming out for a Friday night,
Yeah.
they don't care what trotting hopples are. They don't care.
No.
They don't care what
I
what
agree.
the blinkers are, but they can't see that
That
hood is.
that might
Okay.
come down the road when they really want to
Correct.
get like kind of involved, or maybe even think about buying a horse. That's
Right.
that's a
That's
different.
when we have them. And I'm saying,
Yep.
when they educate like that, they're talking to a customer that they already have.
And you just said something very important that I want the horsemen and harness racing to start understanding in their what I call quote unquote industry now, because an industry usually creates something, sells it at a profit, and lives off its profit. Whereas harness racing manufactures horses that are bred by subsidy to race for the subsidies, and you know what I mean. But you didn't say better. You said customer, because what you're selling is a product, and that's
Absolutely.
a product called harness racing. And each race is an individual product that you want people to, for lack of better terms, buy when they make a wager.
Yes.
That's how it works.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely, you want them to keep your product, their product, racing's product, our product is the wager.
Right.
Is the bet.
Well, that's the sales ticket, and the product is what they're watching and wagering on.
Absolutely. You need that. You need that to be a top tier. And you know what? The Meadowlands, Woodbine, they do a fantastic job with their on-track product.
There's very few.
These horses are blazing fast. The action on the track is hot. The action on the track is hot. Nobody's disputing that. I'm just focusing on, you got to get these kids who are betting sports to go bet on the horses. And
when you say kids, Jason, I think we're thinking the same way, because we're in our 50s. Kids being of age 20, 21 to like 40, who are still living in their house playing World of Warcraft. Okay. Right. We're dealing with a different generation here.
You know what? Poker did a great job. The poker industry, World Series of Poker, Caesars Entertainment Holdings, they did a great job translating poker from exactly what you just said, World of Warcraft, and some of those other skill-based games,
Fortnite,
and
Minecraft,
all those skill-based games. They took that and showed, hey, poker is a skill-based game too. And again, the poker industry explained that you're not playing against the house, that you're playing, you pay a tournament fee. That's for the house to run the game, or they take a rake. That's for the house to run the game. Poker's rake, all poker's rake is horse racing's takeout.
Exactly,
it's
same
the same
thing. Just different,
so you've
different
got
words.
All these kids that understand that, just gotta explain it to them on that level. I think tournaments, which I know the Meadowlands runs, national harness handicapping tournaments. I think more publicized tournaments that are low priced, get people in. Once you get people involved like that, and people see regular people. Hey, my friend Sammy won a tournament at the Meadowlands. He won $5,000. Hey, you know what? 10 of Sammy's friends are gonna come, and that's exactly what happened with the poker industry right around the turn of the century. I just made us feel really old right there, saying turn of the century.
Could you imagine? I actually just thought 1900 when you said that. Holy shit. I'm not kidding. What does that? Oh my God, he means 2000.
Exactly. I made us feel really old.
I swear to God. What the fuck is he talking about?
They brought the regular people in.
We are, back after grunge.
Exactly. Well, we got the light, and then we decided to play poker. It's they got these people by getting regular people involved. There's a fellow named Chris Moneymaker. He won a low tournament buy-in into the World Series of Poker. He ended up winning the World Series of Poker. And all of a sudden, people living in their mother's basement, people all over the place decided, hey, I'm going to give poker a shot. This regular guy won a tournament. And that's what racing needs to do. And they need to reel in that regular customer, that 21-year-old,
and something
looking for that action.
Something that they never. What I keep saying about the younger generation, relatable. he made himself, didn't even realize he did it, relatable to those kids. And then, like you said, World Series of Poker saw the opportunity relatable to.
They jumped all over.
Yep, and that's
They were
brilliant.
smart enough to take
That's
it.
business.
It was born from really illegal online poker. Government, it was not regulated. It was legal in no states, and so they had these tournaments, and that's how Moneymaker won his entry. And when he then won his entry into the legit World Series of Poker, and he won it, Caesar's marketing team, genius, they jumped all over that. They're like, this regular guy from Tennessee, he was an accountant, like married accountant. They said, you could do it too. You could win millions of dollars. And you know what? 10,000 people a year show up to play the main event, and thousands others show up to play preliminary events. So it shows that formula does work. Educate people. Don't let them think this place wasn't built on winners, because it's simply not true. They want you to win, because you know what? When you win, the horse racing, when you win, they want you to take that, and you will. It's not even that they want you to. You will. You'll bet again, and you maybe you'll win again. Maybe you'll bring a friend. Racing makes their money, and I know everybody listening to this knows this. We're not talking to amateurs here. If you're listening to this podcast, you know this.
Yeah, they went.
But obviously, yeah,
we
need to let the general public. We know this, and that is reaching out to people who are at the Meadowlands, who are betting in that FanDuel Sportsbook. Hey, we're running a free tournament. Hey, let me show you how to enter it. You will get some customers.
The Meadowlands has been good at reaching out across, something that the industry itself is terrible at. And I see the money spent by, like, let's just use the USTA, for example, right? Mm-hmm. 2 weeks before the Hambletonian, or like a couple of months before the Hambletonian, you see the ads going up, right? Mm-hmm. Hambletonian 100. Like, we don't fucking know, because who else is reading the U.S. charting? We are, not nobody outside the game.
That's the thing. There's seems to be too much effort put into reaching the customer they already have.
Right.
It costs zero to bring me through the door. It costs zero to bring you through the door. They already have us. We need to figure out what the customer acquisition price is on the new customer. The advertising in places that we would normally not advertise.
Mm-hmm.
They put up a big billboard, Hambletonian 100. We know what Hambletonian 100 is. The 21-year-old kid who's looking to gamble on something, he doesn't know what the Hambletonian is.
Even when Mr. Gural, who I respect immensely in one respect for what he's done for harness race, and then some of the things, fine, it's his playground. But like when they advertise in Times Square, okay?
Yeah.
And it looks great. Hamiltonian, you see the logo, right? But when you advertise in Times Square, you're advertising to tourists that are leaving tomorrow. I get it. It looks like great exposure, but what I think, and this is something I want to ask you this, I swear by, and it's worked immensely for me, where like in the rock and roll thing that I also promote music, or I just play with it. But when I was really doing it, where are all these kids? Instagram, TikTok,
sure,
social media, and I don't see that.
On that note, there's actually a harness racing woman, Mary McDermott. I'll name her by name because she does a fantastic job. She works for Naira.
I know what she's doing now. Yeah.
She did a fantastic job promoting the whole Saratoga meet. I mean, every day, videos, and she showed the colors, she showed the personality, she showed the horses. But yeah, to that note, you're exactly right. Instagram, TikTok, all that. They need to get a narrative, just like Naira. I believe this was the first year they've done it. She did a fantastic job reaching out to her contemporaries. And we keep saying Meadowlands. We don't want to keep singing them out, because there's a lot of other tracks out there too. There's Woodbine. There's the smaller tracks. There's Monticello. You don't think there's kids up in Monticello? Hey, I want to go out to the track. There's Harris, Philadelphia.
They don't have a grandstand, Jason. Here's the problem with a Monticello. It's so friggin' depressing. The main grandstand is closed now, And
know.
there's,
No.
you got to use a porta potty. There's nowhere to eat. It's the
Right.
last place. But like you
Yeah.
just said about what, we keep throwing the name of the Meadowlands out of there because it's
Right. Yeah.
recognizable. Okay.
Correct.
It's
And
branded
it's
into
the
harness
Mecca.
racing.
It's the Yankee Stadium.
It is.
You're not
You
going to
mentioned
talk about,
Meadowlands. People
whatever
usually
little
know what it
field
is.
when you can talk about Yankee Stadium.
Mhm. Yeah. And for Canada, yeah, Woodbine Mohawk, everybody recognizes that. Plus, harness racing to me is much more, let's say, a household thing in Canada. I think it's like second to
Sure.
hockey. you got hockey,
Yeah, harness racing
and then
definitely
you got
is
hockey.
more mainstream
Yeah.
up in Canada. So I had a conversation with a trainer a couple of years ago, a Hall of Fame trainer, and I said, you know what, Aqueduct on just a regular day, they did 5 times the handle that the Meadowlands did on a Saturday night.
Mhm.
I said, why can't we draw in that money? Why can't we draw in the money? And his answer to me was, he says, this is a quote, he says, the runners will always do more than the trotters. But they didn't offer any backup. Why? Why does that have to be? I'm not saying it's going to catch up to the flats overnight, but with education, with promotion, with like you mentioned, Instagram and TikTok,
Mhm.
we can chip away. And we can bring in one customer at a time, and we can build that kind of handle. I mean, we could go, and this is probably for another podcast. We can go into things about how 20-cent bets, whether you're for them or against them.
Mhm.
All I'm saying is you got big tracks like Del Mar, Santa Anita. They tried that. 20-cent stuff. It didn't bring in any new customers. All it did was aggravate the customers they already had.
Yep.
They're moving so far away from micro bets that I saw with Del Mar for their upcoming meet is going back to the $2 pick six, not even the $1 pick six. They realize that micro stuff does not bring in new customers. New customers don't even understand it. They walk up to the machine, they put in a bunch of numbers. They said, hey, I thought this bet was supposed to be 20 cents, but all of a sudden it's costing me $28.40 because they don't understand that it's each combination.
Correct.
I would say stop with that micro stuff. Leave those multi-race bets to experienced bettors, because you know what? Your beginners who are betting win, place, and show, they're eventually going to become experienced bettors, and they're going to jump into those pools. Now, when I say micro bets, I mean the 10 and 20 cent nonsense.
Right.
The 50-cent pick 5 is great. People love that. Got to keep it at a low takeout. You got to explain what a low takeout is. Just saying, hey, it's 14% takeout. You and I, Mike, we understand that. We understand what 14% takeout. The guy walking in the door, he doesn't know 14% takeout. Explain it to him, and then give him the average payout. Like, hey, since the meet started, this bet is paid $1,500 on a 50-cent increment. You really got to walk them through it, baby step by baby step, and you will get a new customer, undoubtedly.
So you know what, Jason? You just gave me the idea for what would, like you said, this is a discussion that you could really dive into in another podcast. So I'm going to leave it like this. We'll end it here with, you are more than welcome to come on again.
Mhm.
You can formulate the topic
Okay.
and lead it. We'll get this out there. I think what needs to happen is, you got stuck you were caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. The wrong thing happened. It blew back on you bad. It blew, it went in different directions. I am going to have a podcast, a live stream myself to address what you didn't, because we kind of touched on what set all that into motion, the people behind the scenes, the phone calls that were happening, the phone call that I got that had me attack you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to be honest.
I got to say, my kids are 23 and 20 years old. They still playfully torture me with that picture you photoshopped with me with the Mickey Mouse hat on.
Oh, that's right.
I just got to say, I appreciate that. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
so much from the bottom of my
Hey,
heart.
you should make that a Christmas card.
I should.
From the Rogers.
Absolutely make it a Christmas
Wishing
card.
you Merry
Just
Christmas.
wonderful.
But Did you get the metaphor?
I did. I did. You pointed out that it was a clown article. And
No.
at the time, though.
No.
Mm.
Mickey Mouse years. What was the real point of
But
contention?
I know I
The,
got
the
that.
Disney
Yes,
trip
yes.
and
The
and
Disney trip.
yes.
Of course I got that. Of course
I
got
couldn't
that.
figure out how to
And
make
it
you
was-
goofy or
yeah. No, that hat and that unflattering picture of me was just enough.
I found the worst one. And I know I did too.
Yeah, you run me through the ringer on
But
that one. And I can
one
laugh
thing-
at it now because you know what? I came full circle. I realized my part in that article. My part where I personally attacked was wrong.
But Jason,
I apologize for it. I
but-
have
but
remorse
there-
for it. I
but-
spoke to Kayla Morris.
But you don't have to
Um,
explain it again. Let me say
yeah.
something to you from the other side and other people that were involved in this. You were grossly misinformed. And there were people, other people, third party involved with those people who
Right.
just wanted you lynched. And you know who they are. And
Yeah.
that's the person I got the call from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's funny because I've struck up a nice friendship with him afterwards. You know, he had told me, and again, this is months and months after we were set up on a phone call, Mike, to another mutual friend of ours.
Mhm.
He set up a phone call between me and that gentleman. And you know what? He also had some remorse for me. He admitted that he acted on emotion.
Well,
and sent
yeah.
you a bunch of stuff, and everybody was emotional. Emotions were high.
And he was, and that's the
at first I
thing.
was like, great,
And
that's what I'm supposed to
and
do.
as-
I'm supposed to elicit a response.
and as
And
a
I
fr-
did.
you know,
I
as a
just didn't think it would get that ugly.
but as an acquaintance, you know, as well, on a positive note with that person, I reacted the same way he reacted.
Right.
And
right.
mine was just, again, like I said, the kids. The other stories
right.
I was able to verify or you know, confirm were true about
Right.
other things that would happen at the same time that
Right.
you did report on. And I'm going to
Right.
say you reported on them correctly, even
Right.
though it was in the middle of that heated moment. But
It was bad. It was bad timing for the whole
Right.
thing. It was terrible timing. The industry was hurting. They didn't need need me using my pen as a sword. I deeply regret that. I learned a lesson from it. But you know what? It also served me. It also served me well. I took a look at my life. I took a look at where my head was at, and I made a lot of changes. And you know, I'm doing a lot of things for good now. So maybe that ugliness did serve some purpose.
everything happens for a reason. You didn't,
Yep.
you know, it wasn't the end of the world for anybody.
No.
It's part of like this things, you know, you put yourself at risk when you go out there and you start, you know, even reporting when you know, you look at what I go through. I've been subpoenaed to court now, all this shit, you know, I've gotten all the threats. I've had people attacking people that I do business with. You know, one of them stabled on the backside of this track over here because I look out my window, I can see the grandstand that goes in the historic track from my office window here. So, and my point again is, even with the truth, sometimes you expose yourself to more ridicule because the truth hurts even more than, you know, making a bad judgment or mistake. The bottom line is, I think, and I hear it in your voice, and I still get it. We love harness racing. Okay.
We do.
And, you know, I love the sport. I'm disgusted by the industry right now. You're taking another approach, which at first I thought it could be fixed. Right now, I don't think it can be fixed, you know, but you have ideas to address how to fix it. So I think with the right people, and I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna email this. I'm gonna send this link to Jason Settlemore when this is done, if he's not already watching.
I was kind of hoping, and I was actually talking with a mutual friend of ours this morning, and I said to that person, I said, I really hope Mr. Settlemore, Mr. Corral, you know, hear what I have to say.
Well, Jason, let me say this.
I hope to hear my passion and my love.
Well, that's the thing.
Sport.
Now, I'm not knocking who they have there. Like Dave Little, he relates to us, right? I love watching Dave. He makes you crack up. He's Dave, you know, and it's even better when Debbie's on there doing the handicapping. But
Sure.
that doesn't relate to the guy the people, like you said, that don't understand yet. And he's going, and 6 starts ago, and they're like, what the hell's he talking about? I've been following this horse for 2 years. Dave's like an encyclopedia of handicapping. Okay. He's
Yeah.
like Hollywood
Yeah.
was. He's
Yeah.
Hollywood Hayden, by the way, I think is the new Stan Bergstein. Okay. You get that.
And I love Hollywood near and dear. I've known him for 30
But-
years.
But
and,
my point is,
he
they-
helped me when I first got in the industry. And you're right, he is the new Stan Bergstein. Holly, if you're listening, I'll be your Spencer Ross. We'll do a show together. It'd be great.
from the Cloud Casino at Roosevelt Raceway, where it all began and where it ain't today.
Exactly. Where I hit my very first trifecta. Paid $1,800. I was hooked back when it was called the $3 triple.
And they had the letters at OTB. C A D.
Really going deep. Really going deep. Give me an AC exact.
Yep. No, you can't. You couldn't say it. No, you had to fill out the. You had to fill out the little slip.
Back then, you had to fill out the slip. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
But back to what I was trying to say again. You have the excitement and the passion in your voice and what you say and what you know. That I'm sorry. When I watch paddock interviews and the like at the Meadowlands right now, it's like listening to a robot.
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking the guy because I think
Right.
they're just green.
Right.
And I think the Meadowlands is giving them a platform and somewhere to start. But yeah, you need the youth, which they have, in the paddock now and sometimes at the desk. But you need to have that excitement and, not just standing there like, I'm actually doing it on the camera right now. Stiff with the microphone, right by you. You gotta be into it. Another guy that does a great job that way is Gabe Pruitt.
Yeah, great. Gabe Pruitt does an excellent job. He has since Pompano. I love seeing him when he's on the desk at the Meadowlands. And you talk about that kind of stuff, like Dave Little on the desk as an analyst,
right?
Handicapping his horses. I believe the desk is a spot for that. But not just the Meadowlands, all these other spots, Hoosier Park and Woodbine, who actually does a nice job of this. I think when you have special events, rather than kind of taking that same angle like a Dave Little would take, an analyzing of the horse itself, I think that roving guy should see what's going on around the track,
right,
with the customer, and incorporate that handicapping angle into the regular guy and have banter back and forth. Hey, I'm at the hamburger truck and I'm with Jose from the Bronx. Jose, what brings you out to the Meadowlands tonight? Well, I came for the food trucks and I like to bet a few on the horses.
Let me.
Who you like in this 4th race? Why do you like them? And then have that
exactly. Even if it's a hunch bet,
including
get a story. And because even what was it? I think they're having the corgi races tonight. But earlier this year, they had what I don't want to say the word because I don't know if it's offensive, but they had the little people wrestling, right?
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay,
yeah,
and you saw? Did you see? What's the guy's? I always forget his name. The guy with the slick back hair that works the winner's circle at the Meadowlands.
Now that's my boy Gary DeLeo.
Gary, okay,
I've known him at least 30 years.
Now Gary,
34, 35.
As like us, we get it, right?
Yeah.
But to me, he shouldn't be the guy because he went over there and was doing like the live feed during the races with that. Right. That should be like 2 kids or something or that understand wrestling, you know what I mean? And really focus on addressing the like we said, the late teens into their 20s group, Again, it's hard to hear it from I don't want to hear me telling a 20-year-old, about the races. It just nobody wants to listen to Grandpa.
Meadowlands does a good job of bringing in some of the younger people. They have that gentleman, John Rallis, who comes in and he does some stuff with them. He does a great job. Of course, they have Jessica Otten, who's phenomenal. She does a great job. That appeals to those young kids. But I just think they could do more to bring that first timer, that second timer, to get them involved, rather than Jessica obviously knows her racing. She knows her racing in and out.
Right.
I just think we have to bring it down a notch.
Yeah, it's too technical.
Yes,
They don't
too
understand
technical.
our
See,
lingo.
we can get involve those first timers and say, hey, you know what?
Mhm.
That was a ton of fun. I want to come back and Mike, we've all been in the track for the first time at some time.
What are they,
You know,
Jason? What do they?
eventually
What do
just keep
people?
coming.
What do you normally hear? The first people that have a program, they don't know what they're looking at, but they know the
Right.
name, and they go, "Oh my God, look at that pretty white horse!" You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Oh look,
yeah,
he's got he's got the white on his legs. That's the
exactly.
person,
Or they like the name, and
right?
that's who
You got
you
their
bring it in. And like I
attention,
said, if you slowly
right?
feed them the information. Yeah, I'll give you a great example. Years back, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I hosted a show at the Meadowlands called Handicapping Central, and I noticed an anomaly in the betting pool. This was a regular overnight race, and so it was a Friday night. That's when I did my show, and I noticed that somebody bet $100,000 to place on a horse that was 15-1. 100,000 a place at a harness track on a horse that was 15-1. Now, as an educated bettor, I know even if they like that horse, they thought that horse was going to come in, they would bet that $100,000 to show. Why bet it to place? It's going to pay the same $2
And
and
you
10
risk
cents.
being
Why
a
would
bridge
you give
jumper.
that extra spot? So I realized that this was some kind of mistake. Somebody made some mistake. And I got on my microphone and I said, look, you don't have a lot of time. Just follow my advice. I'm going to help you win money right here. Pick 5 or 6 horses that you like to place other than that horse. It was a 6th horse other than that horse. I said, I don't have time to explain it. Don't do it. The race goes off. The horse with $100,000 to place finished nowhere. Place prices were astronomical. $70, $80 to place. I think the horse paid $10 to win and $50 to place.
Price is okay.
After that race, I took the opportunity to explain why and how that works. I think I probably gained 100 new customers that night, and I taught them what to look at. It's stuff like that, stuff that we take for granted. Mike, me and you see that, we're going double-fisted to bet all the horses to place. I remember that night, my friend, and God rest his soul, the late, great Dave Brower, I worked with him at the Meadowlands back then. I remember he made a nice score on that night betting other horses to place, and I made a nice score. And you know what? More importantly, the customers made some money, and they also learned what to look at. And on that note, I think tracks could do a better job showing the pools. I think the pools are extremely important. Again, the Meadowlands took away their big board that showed when places show pools. I think they really should dedicate some monitors to showing what the current pools are.
And what was
because it's just such a big handicapping tool.
now? Listen, where was the greatest tote board ever for the newbie, and why?
The greatest tote board ever for the newbie.
Think about it.
I'm thinking.
You know where it is.
I don't remember what track, but there was a track that not only showed win places, show pools, but also showed exacta probables on their infield board. You didn't have to go searching for it.
It said that and the payout on the win.
The payout on the win.
That was Roosevelt.
Yeah, I wanted to say
that's why it was the length of the stretch.
Yonkers old board. I believe Yonkers old board did it too.
Right, but they gave you information.
Monmouth had this great tote board. It was grand. It was spectacular. It was something to look at. It looked like and was something from back the 1950s and 1960s.
Because
somebody made the decision to destroy this tote board. They took some history out of Monmouth right there. They put up these screens, which are beautiful, and you can see the races. But I couldn't tell how much is in a place pool, how much is in a show pool.
Well, look, even for us, and that's like when they show the horses scoring down or whatever, or even on the sidebar on the monitor does have it'll have 1 width, 2
Correct.
width.
Yes.
To the newbie, that's all Greek.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it'll throw up the individual win pool. You got to look for it. We even have to look for it.
You have to, and that's to me. And again, to a newbie's not looking for win places, show pools for art. But I'm looking for it. I'm an experienced bettor. I'm looking for a couple reasons. Number one, I'm looking for those anomalies of somebody betting whatever $10,000 to show into a pool that only has $11,000. I'm seeing that. I'm going to bet other horses to show. Also, I need to see it because I need to know. I need to be reassured that I'm betting into a pool that is worth betting. That's worth betting into. Like, take for example, I'm a pick 6 player and I'm a pick 5 player. I'm not going to go bet into a pick 6 pool that has $5,000 in it. I'm myself putting $1,000 into it. And without advertising what that pool is, you're not giving the knowledgeable bettor the information he needs to make an educated bet.
Right. All right. You know what? Let's leave this open-ended.
Okay.
And if you want to, we'll revisit this. You let me know. You write the title for the show and what the topic and the structure and the content's going to be. In the meantime, I am going to send this down to M1 and their boss. And
you see, M1 right there. I know what M1 is. You know what M1 is.
Yeah, they don't call it that anymore.
They don't call it that anymore.
You know, we knew the acronyms at the first, for each line at a racetrack.
Absolutely.
That should be that could be a quiz for old guys. Like, what was the acronym for Saginaw Downs?
Exactly. And then you got the old timers. It opens up this.
That's fun for us.
We all know every ticket we ever cashed at Saginaw Downs. It starts a conversation. It gets people excited about the races again,
and it reminds you.
Get them excited.
The reminiscing is of much better times, because when we went back then, those grandstands were packed.
Absolutely.
I can still, like, if you mention like Monticello, I can tell you the sound and the smell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Freehold Raceway, the old grandstand was the dirty end where all those bums but those bums were playing a lot of money. That's what kept it going. But there's other things that you got to address. The gorilla in the room is, look at all the other forms of the, instant gratification entertainment that's out there, whether it's gambling or, again, and something else you said before that made me think about, having something physical in your hand. And we're starting to see that where these younger kids are latching onto it. Is my analogy would be, look at how vinyl has come back in music.
Yeah.
Kids love the idea of buying the record, the LP. They don't even call it an LP. We do. Then it's got the record sleeve, the lyrics on it, or if it's a bifold or a trifold, there's the music's in your hand.
Right.
And we all, if you're old enough, we agree that it sounded better. But anyway.
Yeah, we definitely sounded. You know what? It's funny, the pops and crackles of vinyl, they worked so hard over the years to get rid of. First it was CDs and MP3s and all the different files. And people want that imperfection.
It's organic.
A little bit of imperfection.
It's very organic
music. It makes
music.
you feel like they're with the singer. So yeah, people are buying vinyl again.
I have songs that I was listening to as a kid that I remember that like, say there was a skip or a scratch in the record where it always skipped at that exact spot. To this day, when I hear it like on the radio or something, I'm waiting for it. Like it's part of this song.
Right. Brings you back to that time in your life. For me, I love music, and I prefer to listen to live recordings over studio takes, because I want to hear the singer forget the word. I want to hear the missed chord. I want to hear the added line, the changed line. It's that thing that keeps my excitement going. And then, so bring it to harness racing. If we keep presenting the same product over and over and over and over, we're not going to create that excitement. We need to find ways to tweak it a little bit, to take chances. Look, Yonkers, last year, they only did this once, and I don't know why. They had this great innovative bet. It was a $5 pick 5. And so you couldn't get that many combinations. And it was a low takeout. It was only like 14% takeout. And it produced a massive payout. I want to say the payout was like 20 grand.
But something, Jason, let me stop you there. So
Okay.
we could save this for if we do a second one. But and
Okay.
this is now me always being devil's advocate.
Okay.
There's no motivation for them to even. They wouldn't care if there's $1 in because they get $60 million a year from
Well,
VLT.
yeah.
And and I call that Joe Feraldo. We'll leave that alone.
I don't know enough about Mr. Feraldo to comment on his take about that, but I agree with you, and that's what I made a comment earlier. Harness racing has to, and horse racing, thoroughbreds too, not just harness, thoroughbreds too.
Well, you know, there's another.
If this stuff ever gets decoupled.
Well, exactly, and you see it slowly coming to fruition in New York because the things that have been happening and just happened this past week, in 3 years, are going to have an enormous effect on harness racing in Yonkers, New York. When those casinos open in New York City, one of them is owned by the same corporation who owns the Resorts World in Kiamichi, Monticello, right?
Right.
Who is also partnered with Empire Resorts, owns Monticello. You know, one by one, the Yonkers Raceway is never going to be able to compete with 3 massive casino resorts just down the street within the confines of mass transit, 2 major airports, JFK and LaGuardia, even throw in Liberty. I actually called it Liberty International now. It's Newark because I'm on the train all the time down there. So I just keep hearing that. You know, who's going to Yonkers in 3 years with all that? There will be like, you know, the regular bums, but what do they got? 5,500 machines. You think that they're not going to take a massive hit and people saying, why are we going to go to Yonkers? Well, you got to drive there. It's the most unattractive area ever. Like I said this even initially when MGM was going to build the hotel. Whoever said in their life, hey, honey, for this year when we go on vacation, can we go to Yonkers, New York? Who the hell ever said that?
Yeah, no.
It just doesn't work.
Ever saying if it goes back to the earlier points that we both agreed on, they got to come up with something innovative and unique and bring people in the door. As far as the racetrack side, those folks have to figure out how to translate whatever casino customer is coming in to bring them over to make a $2 bet on the harness racing. So first you got to get people there. Again, whatever brings them in the door.
Right.
A unique way that every other casino is not offering. Look, you can't advertise the same slot machine that the beautiful casino next door to you is advertising. You have to have something unique, something to get them in the door. Once you get them in the door, and those harness racing folks need to figure out how to transfer them over to the harness racing side of that facility.
Well, again, you go out on the apron at Yonkers or any track that has a racino. Where are the most people? Inside pressing buttons.
Inside, exactly.
Okay. Some of them don't even know there's a racetrack outside that door. You know what I mean?
I think casinos hurt themselves by taking away the cling and clank of quarters coming out of the machine. Because you know what? People like hearing
it's the sound of winning
coming out.
Yep, it's money.
It's money, and it's in their hand, and they have a heavy bucket of quarters, and they feel good. Where am I carrying a 10-pound bucket of quarters, but in a casino? Now they have these vouchers. Half the people leave them in the machine and forget them.
A lot of people do.
It's unattractive. It's unappealing.
With their card too, their player's card and their money. But here's the other thing that nobody's talking about when this happens. Another reason, there's a set takeout, which is high with VLTs because it's video lottery terminal. Okay. Whereas at these gaming casinos, the casino sets what's taken out. Of course. And they are always battling with, and the cool thing is now you're going to have 3 in a row, Bronx, Willets Point, and Aqueduct Racetrack, right?
Right.
That, what I remember the signs going to Atlantic City. We have the lowest takeouts, the highest payout slot machines percentage wise all over the place. They all had the highest, but it's just a way to get people in the door. You're going to get more bang for your buck.
Of course. But again, even going back to our earlier conversation, you got to educate the customer on what 99% payback is, what 1% takeout is.
Yep.
A lot of people, most people who are not gamblers don't know what
they think it is? for every dollar you put in, you're going to always get 99 back out, even though you just, no, it doesn't work that way.
Right, that don't work like that.
And they get
Doesn't work like
confused. I've heard people say that, if I play over the length of the night, I should take back 99% of the money that I invested.
Right.
No, it doesn't work
Does
that
not
way.
work like that. And that's what even like, so slot machines, they work the same as the takeout at the track is. Casino only wants you to put your money in there because they get a set percentage of what, and they pay back whatever is left from that set percentage. They want as many people as possible to win, because all those people are then going to come back and re-bet that money. Just like when pick sixes get really high at the track would so much rather 100 people hit it for $3,000 than one person hit it for $300,000.
Yep.
But people don't understand why that is. The track does not win and lose. They want as much money out there as possible.
Of course. Now we're at an hour and 5 minutes. So you know what? Let's put this to bed, because see, you could talk for this.
Absolutely.
You could talk for hours about this.
Could go on forever, and that's it's my passion for the racing industry is only matched by very few out there, and I'm just looking to put that energy to work. So, racing people, if you got a job for me, hit Mike up. He knows where to find me.
No, well, I'm going to put your contact. Well, actually, we'll talk about it after we hang in. A way to contact you. I don't want to give people your phone number,
right?
Even though it's probably out there, but still,
you're
on new.
You know what? If you guys are out there, you're so inclined, friend me on Facebook. Jason Rogers on Facebook. It'll say the one from Raleigh, North Carolina, because I haven't changed it yet to Frio. We probably have some common friends. I have a lot of harness racing industry friends. I'd love to have a conversation on Facebook. I love the banter back and forth. So y'all folks friend me on Facebook if you're so inclined.
All right, you got it, dude. We'll set something up. I'll talk to you in a bit again, and we'll go from there.
All right, I appreciate the time. I appreciate you willing me to have on the show, and we'll do it again.
You got it, bro.
Thanks, Mike. I'll see you.
Bye. That was Jason Rogers. If you remember back, a little over a year ago, how all that exploded. I'm not going to go into the details on it right now, but people behind the scenes and people who are involved in all that were the people that actually fueled that. And the only way that I can say it is they weren't innocent. And I know this. He didn't go any further than that after he reported it. And I was approached about what happened, me, jumped on it for what we saw, what was said, whatever. But there was a lot of truth to what he reported that's nobody has talked about. And I will eventually dedicate a live stream to that when the time is right. But we were alluding to certain individuals who, let's say, the common denominator in all of this. And over time, I think everybody realized it just shouldn't have happened. But it continues to happen in other cases with the same people. And that's where I will not back out. We've settled that with Jason. Jason is a genuine guy who loves the game. Talking to him now, I remember him from the 90s, and his voice finally clicked. Yes. Is he a little, age at this point is irrelevant, but something that I do see missing, and I say this about, we'll just again use the Meadowlands. They have all the pieces in place, but you got the younger people there. You have to have some excitement. You got to be able to project that excitement to get your anybody that's watching it, in that age range, or any potential customer will get excited enough to say, oh yeah, I want to open a program and I'm going to go pay. I want to go bet $2 too. That's how you do it, and let it go from there. But something again, where I said, allow me to be devil's advocate, is what motivation is there when, for the most part, most of these tracks, not the Meadowlands, when they're getting the money and they're pretty much only concerned about themselves, which I use Yonkers as the example, because not everybody can race there. I believe it's still the only track in North America where you need to have the blessing of today's no King's Day, right? A king at Yonkers Raceway who isn't even a member of the management of Yonkers Raceway, nor is he an official of either Yonkers Raceway or the state of New York, even though that's technically VLT generated money through New York State lottery, has the final say on how that money is spent and allocated. Have you ever heard of this before? You're not, if you are not given the blessing to race at Yonkers, you're being told that you cannot race for this money that they are given by the state. You're not eligible with no right to appeal or formal review or anything. Just if we don't like you, you're out. It's kind of like being denied a license and it's private property, right? We've all heard this shit, and this is what's blowing back on them now. They don't realize it, and I'm going to address this in another live stream. What really happened to make MGM withdraw their casino application and 2 days later announce that they've sold Northfield Park, and nobody really knows what the true future is for Yonkers Raceway. That's why they went month to month. They knew months ago, this didn't just happen overnight, what their long-term plan for Yonkers Raceway would be, MGM International that is, that will not extend beyond 3 years. Thus the 3-year contract. They do cite some valid reasons. There's no way they're going to be able to compete against any of those other 3 casinos, whether they're in Queens, Bronx. The Manhattan ones are all gone. But like we said, and I mentioned, who's going to go to Yonkers to play a VLT? There will be people. It'll be a local thing. They may draw a little bit from the Hudson Valley, but who's coming out of the city or even Long Island? Who's driving past Whitestone, the Bronx side of the Whitestone Bridge, to go to Yonkers when you have that there? I believe Harrah's, it's going to be a Hard Rock. This massive thing that Steve Cohen has proposed. And we know Aqueduct's a lock because Governor Hochul already had that grandfathered in by giving $500 million to rebuild a Belmont that will be year-round that can absorb closing Aqueduct for a reason. You're seeing the dismantling of this structure that keeps the welfare going for harness racing. Thus the reason there's certain individuals who want to take as much, I called it pillaging the village as it burned. That's what's happening. That's why you can race here because you're our friend. You can't, you're an enemy, or you actually might be a threat to our bottom line. And then you see a lot of little people that, kind of chip away. But don't for a second think that hasn't been made clear to MGM International, what was going on, and the state of New York, that being New York State Gaming, and the legislature, and one particular politician, very close friends to our Lord Joe, who finally said, I'm not risking my political career for you anymore. We'll catch that one on another podcast. I got a lot more to put together on that. Tomorrow, actually, we'll address a lot of that now that I mention it, but we'll leave that at this. I'm going to hook something up with Jason so he can talk more. I'd like to bring in, even ask him if he's got some that he'd want to bring in as a guest to really talk about ideas for just getting people interested in investing into, and that doesn't mean buying a horse, investing into harness racing through the betting windows, the way it used to be. Catch you all later.